So, shit happens. Sometimes shit happens to you, sometimes shit happens to me. Yeah, unfortunately life isn't fair and shit happens. But does it happen? So this is something I thought I wanted to think about, wanted to explore, wanted to talk about. Shit happens, so shit does happen to everybody. Life isn't fair, but often some of the worst things that happen to us turn out to be sort of good when we look back. There's the idea, like Steve Jobs talks about putting the dots together, and often something that is bad at the time, when we look back, turns out that actually it wasn't so bad after all. Maybe it was a tough experience, but it's worked out well. At the time we didn't want to go through it. Maybe it was painful, stressful, upsetting, but when we look back, you know, sometimes some of these things we sort of think, oh, that's the best thing that ever happened to me. So a bit of a personal example here when shit really happened to me many years ago, before Wi-Fi, before the internet, if you can imagine such a time. This is how old I am and how long ago it happened. I had a very serious girlfriend. We've been together for a couple of years, travelled around the world. I thought it was going to be like the fairy tale ending, Cinderella, that kind of thing, that we would live together happily ever after. So that wasn't the way it turned out. We didn't live happily ever after. Unbelievably, she dumped me. Can you believe it? And I've got to say, it was just at the time, it was awful. You know, I was very depressed, very down, really upset, you know, devastated. I can stand here now and laugh at it, but at the time it was kind of, you know, the worst experience that I've kind of suffered, been through. But now when I look back and I sort of look back at what had happened, then it you know, in many ways it was like the best thing that ever happened to me. If you think about the direction that your life can take sometimes when these events happen to you, then you know, I would have been in a completely different place. I certainly wouldn't have had the life that I've had now, where I've lived in, you know, 4 or 5 different countries, worked in numerous other ones, travelled all over the world. Probably if I'd stayed where I was, I'll be working maybe in Croydon still, in the south of London, a long way from Dubai, Azerbaijan, Poland, Libya, all of these exotic places. So shit does happen, but when you look back, often things have worked out for the best. And often we say, you know, we say to people, you know, everything will work out for the best, and we say it, but I think it's more important that we believe it and remember it. You know, when we're going through those times that are tricky, everything works out for the best. So maybe something that can help our attitude when shit does happen is think about the reframing, the rephrasing of it. Rather than saying shit happened to me, maybe it's this idea that shit happened for you. You know, maybe the universe, life, whatever you believe in, think of it as happening for you, like opening the door to new adventure, new opportunities, rather than sort of saying it happened to me, which, you know, makes it feel as though something's kind of fallen on your head, you know, you've been dumped on. Back to the shit happens. So think about that. If you think about these events happening for you rather than happening to you, at the time, if you can remember that when you're going through them, through the challenges, it'll make you feel much better. Again, if I think back to you know, my experience pre-internet, back in the dark ages when I was a lad and I had loads of curly hair, lots of hair, you know, maybe that worked out for the best. Maybe by going through that experience, it helps me, you know, develop empathy, understanding that I would never have had if I hadn't gone through that. I think everything I thought was like unicorns and rainbows and fairy tales. So by going through that experience, I developed, I'm sure, understanding of other people, empathy that I would never have had otherwise. I'm sure I wouldn't have done. So recently, the other day, I saw this speech by Glenn Powell, and he was talking about this sort of thing, this idea of reframing. And he gave this kind of great analogy. He talked about films, and often you watch a film, it starts off, everything's sort of the hero in the film's doing very well, kind of the story unfolds, everything's going to form, and then suddenly something really bad happens to the character. If it's an action film, he gets captured. You know, if it's a romantic comedy, they break up, they split up, something bad happens. He was saying, imagine your life like one of these stories, one of these films, When you're going through one of these sort of down periods when everything seems to be going against you, so think about yourself as being a character in a film. Think about where you are, where you've come to, where you are now, and just imagine this as the character going through this difficult period, this character building period, the one that you have to, the challenge that you face, that you overcome. And then by the end, when you overcome it and you reach the goal, the end of the film, the ending, the happy ending, the happy ever after ending, suddenly it's what you went through is all worthwhile because of where you get to. So if you can sort of reframe it, take a step back and think of yourself as a character in a film, maybe that will help you get through these challenges. So unfortunately, life isn't fair. We all have challenges, everybody has challenges. You get onto Wikipedia, if you look at the most successful people and you look at their lives, they've all gone through challenges. Maybe you don't hear about them, maybe you don't see them. But everyone's life is difficult sometime, and sometimes shit does happen. And sometimes you just need to trust that everything will work out. Try to keep a positive attitude. Try to adopt this philosophy, this idea that things are happening for you. Now, it's not always easy at the time. You know, sometimes you might feel that you're overwhelmed. Keep going, see yourself as the hero in the book, the hero of the film, and hopefully it will help you overcome these difficult challenges that we all have. And know that everybody has them, it's not just you. It might feel as though it's you at the moment. Everybody has these challenges. Take care, all the best. Have a great day, Play on 10. Please remember, like and subscribe to the channel. Getting very close to 1,000 subscribers. Take care, please sign up, share the video with a friend, and have a great day. Take care, bye bye now.